Hi there. I am Liz. I have dyslexia, I have a language processing disorder, and I have ADHD. So I have all the good ones. um, and I believe I also have dyscalculia. Based on the fact that I took Algebra 1 5 times, I'm going to say yes. Anyway, I want to share with you today my literacy story because it was something. So I came of age as far as when I learned to read and some of my earlier skills was in the late 70s. At that time, where I lived, people did not think that girls had dyslexia. Um, what they thought I had was laziness. Now, let me tell you what the problem is with calling me lazy and where I grew up and what that meant. I grew up in a very poor working class area. And the most important thing was that you be a hard worker. That was what set you apart. There was a few other things, as far as going to church and, where you stood in the community, but being a hard worker was really important. So to be called lazy was one of the worst things that could happen to me. I mean, it put me on the outside. The problem was I was working really hard. I was trying very hard, but my self-esteem was becoming more and more diminished with each passing moment, practically. So I think that I would have taken a more destructive path if something hadn't happened. And that was, for whatever reason, I decided to join a basketball team. It was the only sport, the only activity my poor school had. And it was put on by Mr. Green, the coach, who was also our janitor. And God bless that man. He showed up for us and we showed up for him. But why that's important for me is that was the first place in my life where I could work really hard and I could achieve something, where I could be uncomfortable and it didn't come with severe ramifications. Otherwise, because when you're dyslexic or when you are undiagnosed or you're in an environment that is unsupportive of your particular neurodivergence, you know what I mean, then you're in pain all the time. And when you try to step out just a little bit, the ramifications are significant. You are pushed back immediately. So for me, just having that chance to succeed somewhere and really be uncomfortable somewhere and it'd be okay for me to be uncomfortable. I was going to survive. Before, it didn't ever feel like I was going to survive. It felt like I was going to be sent down to the basement or something and have to sit in the boiler room. I don't know. I mean, it just felt that way. But anyway, so that was important. And then my mom moved us to a more economically developed area. And so at that point, there was a diversity of ideas and I could find other things I could be engaged with. And the thing that I learned was that having an expanded environment, I was really bored all the time. I was just unengaged. I didn't mind working hard, but there was just no point anymore. And once I got to ideas that really engaged me, that made a difference. The other thing about growing up where I grew up is everyone was a laborer or a factory worker. And so I remember one of the major goals I had was that I was going to try to get a job inside. I was trying to avoid having to work on a factory floor, honestly, because I grew up and the people around me, they aged quickly. A lot of men and some women had disfigurements from working in factories or labor jobs, but mainly just it ages you so fast. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with a labor job or a factory job. God bless those people. But I just was very scared all the time that was what my future held. I just didn't see anything else. And that's important because when my mom got this idea that she should send me to Europe And I don't even know where she got this idea. She probably saw it on TV. Who knows? Anyway, she scraped together the money. I don't know how she did it, but she scraped together the money to send me on a high school trip to Europe. And when I got to Europe, I saw the world. Everything was bigger. There was more possibilities. And suddenly I could break out of these notions that my world had to be small and I had to do one thing. So when I got back, I asked my guidance counselor, is there any way I can go to college? And she looked at my transcript. I had a kind of 1.9. I mean, I just did not do well in school. She said, I don't know. I mean, you could always go to community college, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great option for people. But offhanded, she just said, let's try to get you on the honor roll. Let's just get you on the honor roll and see what happens. Let's put you in some more advanced classes and let's see what happens. And when I got into those more advanced classes, I was engaged because I was interested in the material. Moreover, it was a supportive environment where my intellect was interesting. And granted, I had to work hard, but it was okay to work hard. It was okay to feel uncomfortable at that moment because I had practiced doing that in sports. And sports gave me other skills too, like showing up to practice and being on time and, doing all the things that your coach tells you to do, following directions and things like that. So I had those skills I could pull from. And as I said before, you can get that in other places. It doesn't have to just be sports. I mean, it could be arts and singing, dancing, whatever is your thing. But that was important to me. So let's fast forward. I go to college. When I get into college, I happen to have Teresa as my instructor. Love her. She was so helpful, so supportive, and I really bloomed. And I actually think the reason I went to graduate school was because of Teresa, honestly. Teresa May, the director of the program. And but in college is when I was diagnosed. And it was like a light. It was like suddenly I had been living in the dark, and then the light went on, and now that I knew what was wrong, is I could begin to navigate. And the other thing that I found was that the further I went in school, the better I did because I was more engaged with the material. So, of course, I always would judge myself based on the fact that I couldn't do basic things. Like I had to take the Algebra 1. I think I took it like 3 to 5 times. I just took it over and over again. And I just could not get English grammar down. I took that several times. But I judged myself based on those skills. Well, as I got further into more specific areas of study, I got better at what I was doing. And my grades increased. And those concrete skills are definitely important. But as I got more into the theoretical spheres, things got better. And I guess what I want to say is that you can't necessarily judge yourself based on those skills as far as where you're going to be able to end up. You don't know. Anyway, I appreciate sharing. I appreciate your time listening to me and the opportunity to share my story. Thanks so much.